Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Get Valiant number 132.
Hi, I'm Josh.
And I'm Hoosier.
How you doing tonight, Hoosier?
Dude, I'm doing all right, man. I'm just kind of bummed that Eric's not feeling well. He's going to take the night off, so but I think we can hold it down.
Yeah, we can do this. Eric very rarely has missed an episode. This would be maybe his second one that I've done without him. And in the past, there's been things that have happened before shows. I know we canceled an episode once when his cat died right before an episode started. That was last year, I believe. But yeah, Eric's under the weather, so Eric will be back next week, hopefully.
Yeah, well, hopefully he gets back. Hopefully he gets well. No, he wasn't feeling too well, but it's going. Lots going on in the Valiant world. But before we get there, thank everybody for jumping on and getting on the live chat. Looks like we already got Scott Bloom and Sean Hayes here. And if you're new, make sure you subscribe. We want to get to that 100. I know Josh was putting it out there that we're trying to get to 100 to do a giveaway.
Yeah, I'm working on it. I'm working on getting something that we can do, and the people upstairs have been very receptive to it. So we'll just leave it at that. But if you can, if you listen to the episodes or if you watch, but you're not a subscriber, head over to our Get Valiant page on YouTube and click the subscribe button.
Yeah.
Help us get to 100.
Any of that helps too. I think it was John Bourne on Get Valiant, or not Get Valiant. Yeah, it was the Get Valiant page where he wasn't a subscriber, but subscribing does help. It helps YouTube kind of push us and promote us a little bit, and so we appreciate the views, appreciate the subscribers, and let's get into some news.
Yeah, so the I don't know how to even take this news is that it was just a couple hours ago. It was announced that Paramount is going to be doing a Harbinger movie. And the Harbinger has nothing to do now with Sony, which is going to put into some serious jeopardy there ever being a 5-movie deal that involves Bloodshot and Harbinger, leading up to Harbinger Wars. So it looks like at this point we're just getting a Bloodshot movie, and then Paramount will do their own thing. It's really disappointing.
It is. The thing that makes it so scary is it's coming off the heels of the Spider-Man stuff again. Right, and I think the article alludes to that. So,
yeah, and I don't know how much of that is true. I mean, I don't think the Hollywood Reporter necessarily is lying, but it seems like there were a few people that might maybe have a little bit of an in with some people who might have been involved with the Bloodshot movie, who made it sound like it might not be necessarily Sony. It could be something else, and I don't know how all these Hollywood contracts work. It's weird if someone could just take the property that's signed up with the studio and just leave, but maybe that's how this one worked. But it's a huge bummer because a lot of us have been looking forward to Bloodshot for one, and I don't know if this is going to make it so that certain things don't necessarily work with the movie, if it can no longer lead to Harbinger and can't lead to Harbinger Wars. I know when it comes to Marvel, there's so many things that you look forward to with their movies when they make a sequel or when they do a first movie in what's going to be a trilogy, right, where they hint at another character showing up. Like Captain America trailers for Civil War show Black Panther. People love Black Panther. And then they show Spider-Man. Holy shit, we're all going crazy for it. And if Bloodshot can't lead to Harbinger, we don't get that moment that maybe didn't exist to begin with, though, where maybe at the very end in the credits, a mid-credit scene or an end-credit scene where we see Toyo Harada show up, or we see some Psyots or something like that, some other familiar faces within the universe. We don't even know who gets to play in the Sony universe now, because it sounds like everything is going to be, for the time being at least, over at Paramount.
Right. And I mean, and there's talk of this Bloodshot universe on its own, where it's going to be the Vin Diesel Bloodshot universe. And I don't know how that gets with Rising Spirit and how that can be with Gen Zero, or if Harbinger's gonna move around the Project Rising Spirit and overlook Harbinger Wars. Who knows what the direction is?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of gray area there because Bloodshot does exist in a world where part of his origin is as the Psyot killer, and he deals with a lot of that stuff that involved Gen Zero. Mm-hmm. And if we're going off of just Valiant Entertainment's storyline, their whole universe, which has been going since 2012, Bloodshot and Harbinger definitely share a world. They share it with Toyo Harada. Bloodshot's had a few run-ins with him. So it's a huge disappointment. And I hate to sit there and bitch and moan yet, because we don't even have really anything going forward with Harbinger. We'll get a trailer for Bloodshot at some point.
Right.
But it's just such a huge disappointment, and I feel bad. I feel really bad for Dinesh, because I know that he's involved with this. And if this is a case of DMG putting their foot down and wanting something different, it just feels like maybe that guy's work has just gotten thrown under the bus yet again. Like everything he did with Valiant, and then those guys pushing him out. Maybe that was something at play here. I don't know. But it's just, I feel for the guy, because he puts everything into the stuff. I mean, Valiant is, even not being with Valiant anymore, it's just so much of his life, So it's a disappointment.
It is disappointing if that's the case, if DMG really did do that, because it validates a lot of what fans have been saying about DMG if that's the case. And that kind of sucks. And we know Dinesh has put a lot in. He's going to get a lot of acclaim for what he's done with Bloodshot, and hopefully this ends well, this comes out well. I know that, Scott Bloom's in the chat saying that he's kind of frustrated with it, and he's getting the acclaim vibe again. And then, Sean's in here letting us know that, that he hopes it turns around. So
I still think these books are way better than the Acclaim era. Because, Acclaim just didn't know anything about comics, and they wanted to get everything just ready for video games. And the games were okay, but I still feel like Valiant's doing a lot to push the publishing side of things. That's still a big priority with DMG, it seems. But whatever the case, whoever made this thing happen, it's just, what a bummer, because this was finally going to be the Valiant fans' moment to rejoice in all these things that if you're only a Valiant fan, and some people only read this stuff, this was going to be their time to shine as a person who got to be excited for Bloodshot, and Bloodshot leading to other things. And then who knows how those other movies would turn out if everything was going to be under Sony. And I know that Sony has its own issues, so who knows how much of it is DMG versus how much of it is Sony. I don't know. It's a little too early in this process, and with the news breaking, for anybody at least for me to know. So... But yeah, a bunch of crap.
And I kind of going with that being said, hopefully that we're looking at getting something like a trailer coming soon, and hopefully that's coming around the corner. My bet is still, cross my fingers, that it's going to be the Joker rated R trailer, and that lines up directly in a couple weeks with New York Comic Con.
Yeah, I just hope that we get a Red Band trailer, something that really shows some of the meat and potatoes of what they're trying to put in this movie. Because it doesn't necessarily spoil a whole lot. If a movie like this seems like it's going to have a lot of action, you can show us some of that good hardcore action. You can show us, a little dose of what the language will be like, things like that. That's kind of what I'm hoping for. New York Comic Con would be a great day to have that trailer come out, but none of us have that knowledge yet. And it sounds like it might be a little bit later. It seems like last week, I think it was Scott Bloom who was saying that he had heard from some of Dinesh's tweets that it was going to happen after the show, which it's a little unfortunate because that's a big show for Valiant, but we'll all be excited when it does happen.
Yeah, and that leaves speculation. Going back to the Paramount, that leaves speculation of why there was reshoots. Is there may have been some, basically just some stuff keeping everything together to set Harbinger up, and maybe they had to stop that and change that up afterwards.
Well, yeah, because if you think about it, these things don't just happen in one day where it's like, hey, you know what? Sony's not going to have this movie. And then later on the day, like, Paramount's going to happen. It doesn't happen instantly like that. It does take some time for these things to kind of happen. So maybe that's what the reshoots are. It seems like Dinesh does show a really positive face and when he's faced with anything, which is awesome. So hopefully that us fans aren't going to notice any glitch with the story. I know that there's been people who have seen this already, and I'm trying not to bug any of them about it because I've only seen you and I have seen footage from it, but there are people who have supposedly seen the entire movie. Yeah, whether or not that it had all the CG added, things like that. I know some of the footage we watched was a little bit raw, but I just hope that it's not one of those movies that you watch and you're like, well, wait a minute, like that. They mentioned this and it's never going to happen. And hopefully there's a Bloodshot 2. Hopefully this is a movie that still is really successful. It leads to more of Bloodshot, because for some of us, that's our favorite characters. Eric is like the biggest Bloodshot fan. I always say that Eric's the biggest Bloodshot fan because he has everything. It's like his number one favorite character. Even if there's people out there who have been collecting longer and have everything, sorry, it's still Eric. It's our podcast. If you want to get crazy about it, go start your own podcast and argue it.
Right. And then in the live chat, we got Scott Bloom saying that he's going to reserve his excitement for the comics in print. So, and speaking of that, and kind of moving a little bit forward, and then I'll go backwards. I see that poster in the background, man. I went and picked up mine. So, shout out to Greg.
I would like to say that it's great having a guy like Greg Katzman at Valiant, because he has been looking out for all of us who do podcasts and obviously like our show. He makes a point to send stuff out, and he does this without us asking, which is really nice. He'll just send us a message like, hey, I've got a poster coming your way, or a book just shows up in my mailbox, like the Rye Ashcan did.
Yeah.
So he's been so invaluable to us as a comic book show, just trying to get the news out about Valiant, trying to keep up on everything that goes on, because a lot of times, even before we get that kind of stuff, I didn't have any idea that the Rye Ashcan was out there. You never know like who might be talking about it, who might already have one on eBay, things like that. So he does everything he can to help us out, and it's a cool poster.
Yeah.
And I told him, and I don't like to ask for stuff for myself ever, but I was like, you can send posters anytime, man.
Yeah.
I'd like to just keep popping up a new one to coincide with whatever book we're doing, but I'm not going to beg or be like, please send me it to me. If it happens, it happens.
Yeah, it's super cool.
But he's the best.
Yeah, I remember. I was going to say, is it Josh Johns? Right, Josh Johns. He used to take care of us pretty well back at Hoodoo, and he would send books and stuff too. So I like that feel. It's kind of the heart of Valiant, of taking care of its people and being fan friendly and take care of the people that take care of you, type of thing. And I've always been a fan of that in general.
Yeah, and whoever runs Valiant, whether it's been Dinesh or as I sometimes refer to it, the new regime, they've always taken care of his fans. I feel like whenever it comes to even these high price variants that launch the new series, when people have had issues with those, it seems like they reach out to those people and help them out. It's just a good feeling, and I don't feel like I don't feel like really any publishers are doing this kind of stuff for their fan base.
That goes back to '92 Valiant, right? With the Golds. I mean, that's a Valiant tradition, a Valiant culture that needs to stay part of it, and that's probably one of the best things about Valiant has always been the fan base, has been the caring for one another, the feeling like you're part of it. So,
yeah, and one thing I do want to say on that, I know we're kind of getting a little off topic on things here and there, and that's okay, but I see some of the most creative, artistic things lately with the Valiant fan page, and I don't know the guy's name, and I wish I remembered it right now because what he's doing is so incredible. But there's a guy who's taken beads and making recreations of covers. It's just got to be so time consuming. And I hope that for every one of those things that he does, someone sends him something, because it's really incredible the amount of detail he's putting into this. And on top of that, I noticed that one of the monthly fan winners is actually doing a cover for a gym. There's a gym variant for Bloodshot.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
So that's really
Brute Fitness or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, Brute Fitness. Jonah Harris, I believe, is the one in charge of that, and it's actually a really cool cover. But I can't remember the cover artist's name. I don't have notes in front of me.
Yeah.
With the way my night went, I didn't have time to really jot that stuff down.
Yep.
Before we did this.
And I guess we can get on to one of the things. I mean, speaking of Dinesh, that we saw today was his kind of tweet out of Bloodshot number 37. Yeah. Yeah.
So supposedly this is, from what I've heard online, this is a very detailed message about when the trailer might be coming out. That's what someone might have said. What's funny about this is that this came out, and then there were people that were like, oh, I need to pick up that issue. And I'm always really curious about stuff like that. So I looked at eBay, and sure enough, on eBay, people had just been buying the issue, which, as far as I can tell, it's not a bad issue. It's Mike Grell who wrote it. I want to say the art was Brent Anderson, but there's nothing kind of remarkable about it. There's no key first appearance. It does show Bloodshot in the coffin. Maybe maybe that's from today. Who knows? But but supposedly this has got something to do when the trailer might come out.
I mean, because is that October that I'm seeing in the date that he kind of took off of it? So October number
no, yeah.
the CT that's right there in the corner of that second picture. So
we'll see.
I'm gonna zoom this picture in for everybody to see if we can figure it out. So yeah, it does say October. So October 12th, or no, that's just the dollar amount. So it is saying October. So October, it's coming.
It'll be here, and what'll be cool is I'm sure we'll spend like a whole episode just talking about the trailer.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll have a reaction video. We'll play it, and then we'll all react and chat about it as we go. So, and hopefully Sony doesn't get us for like copyright infringement for playing the trailer. But
oh man,
you know, if we're promoting the movie, I don't think they should give a crap. But oh well.
And I don't know if they do. There's a lot of reaction videos and things like that on YouTube. And we're not like, we don't make any money. So I don't think anyone would care, but you never know. You never know.
Yep. And yeah, I guess we had one book today. Livewire number 11 or 10. Do you want to get into that?
Yeah, let's go ahead and get into this book.
Boom. Livewire number 10, Vita Ayala, Tana Ford, Kelly Fitzpatrick. What are your initial thoughts of this? Or do you want to summarize it up? Or
well, a lot of this is just a lot of there's really no action to this book. It's just a lot of talking. It's a whole issue of talking.
Right.
So it a lot of it takes place on the set of what looks like a talk show. Two politicians who the politician that we met from the last issue, who is still seemingly pro Psyot, and now we meet his opponent who is against Psyots. And then through the wonders of technology, Livewire appears and gives her opinion, her piece on all this stuff, and then from there, it's Livewire confronting people within the one candidate's party and himself, and that's really about it. I mean, there's really not a lot to this issue, and I kind of think, well, man, you got to give me at least something, like someone doing something, like like some action of some sort. And I just felt like this.
Well, you got to see her go through the firewalls again, so.
Yeah, you got the firewalls, but to me, I think the worst part about this, and this was what I was critical about this on the last issue, is the art. To me, the art just seems so out of place for a Valiant book, and it just kind of takes me out of the story a little bit.
Yeah,
I just feel like Valiant could easily have gotten someone better. I'm sure, look, and I have nothing against Tana Ford. It's just the art to me just doesn't cut it for like what I expect when I buy an issue from Valiant. And the covers on this are great, especially that magazine cover right there is so good. I liked all the covers on this.
I wonder if they paid Orange is the New Black or Netflix to use that Orange is the New Black statement on there.
I don't know.
I don't know.
But there's a lot of great covers, and I think the writing's good. I still don't know what to expect. It seems like whatever ploy is being played out by this politician, this younger politician who is seemingly on Livewire's side, but probably isn't. It just seems like we need a little bit of a hint as to like what the hell's going on here.
Right. I mean,
but I've loved this book so much since issue 1, and this storyline has kind of taken that away from me a little bit. I just haven't enjoyed this one as much. It's just not as much action with this, and I understand that there's a little bit of a weird pacing issue with the series as a whole, because we've had issues where it was almost like just like one big fight between Livewire and whoever the person she's against. Not even with powers, not even like powered fights where she's fighting up against people who are using fantastic abilities. It's kind of an odd series like that.
Yep.
But this one just doesn't really. I just don't think it's that great.
Yeah. I think you hit it up on the art, and there's not much to say there besides just, it's not what you come to expect with the Valiant piece. And so I've been doing a little back issue rereading sometime. And one of the big mistakes I did this week was I reread Secret Weapons. And so that made me really dislike this book. And partly because Secret Weapons is what it is, but if you put these side by side, and it's not a great experience. I mean, because just that art team and then Eric Heiser, um, everything was action. But getting into this issue, it is running really slow. It's like seems like it's just taking one little scene at a time. And I don't know if that's Vita's style because it seemed like we only had like one or two scenes the last issue as well, one or two scenes this issue, and it's I don't know if it's utilizing the comic space at the best of its ability. But it's only two issues. We got two more issues to wrap up Livewire, 11 and 12, because it looks like 12 is going to be the last issue of this run. And it's just a weird plot line. It just seems like it's what there's. I don't know. It's like so much in front of you that there's bad stuff happening underneath the scene. What really is it? And I don't know how interested or how much I'm into this one. You know what I mean? As far as really the story and the plot.
Well, and I think a little bit though. How do I want to phrase this? I think if I was looking at different art that I thought I liked a little bit more, I'd find the story a bit more captivating. And it's sad that you bring up Secret Weapons because I feel that this series, obviously, it was born from that. And it seemed like we had plot points that were trying to bring those characters back in. We'd see Nikki and the gang here and there. And the last story arc really seemed like it was going to be a big imperative thing to right that relationship,
right,
to fix everything wrong with it. And I would imagine we probably don't get very much of that because this storyline seems to feel like it seems to read like it's not meant to be the last storyline. So I think in the sad sense of it all, we're going to be left with a plot thread, and we're going to be like, when is it going to get resolved? When are we going to see Livewire and the Secret Weapons patch up whatever problems they have between one another? Because it's something that needs to be done.
Right. I completely agree. It makes me wonder if it's an editorial decision on maybe this was the last arc of what was written and we're missing the third one and this is actually the fourth one. Or are we just jumping, out of it right here, right now? So it makes me wonder if that's an editorial decision or obviously a sales decision because it hasn't been selling very well. And there is some interesting, pieces here about Livewire jumping into technology, and then at the last scene, the guy jumping on the phone and basically, just doing his mwahaha kind of villain-ish, and but on the phone, I mean that's Livewire's power set, and it's kind of weird. How much does she know that we're not hearing, or what's necessarily the plot? I know on the chat, Scott Bloom thinks that the two politicians may be working together. So, I don't know.
Yeah, and Scott says that it could be working for something bigger. I just don't think we're going to see anything come from it for some time.
Yeah.
Just because if the book's not selling very well, when do we see Livewire again? When do we see the Secret Weapons kits again? And Vita and I want to say this about this issue, about Vita's work on the book. I don't think Vita has done anything wrong on this title. For me, it's just the art on this storyline that's really taking me out of it, and we might not see what Vita's able to do with finishing up a story between those characters.
Right. I mean, I guess I ask is how much of this could have been, condensed. That we get there's this back and forth of the politics, psyops are bad, no they're not. If that could have been condensed at all.
Yeah.
But I still get what you're saying.
I would say this though. I hope with this series when it wraps up at 12, we see more of Vita working within the Valiant universe. I think Vita's had Vita has done great work with these characters.
Right. Yeah, I think Vita is she has. I loved the first arc. I really enjoyed the first arc. I thought that was great. And then I think with the last arc wasn't bad at all either. But I do think the art in this one is kind of getting us to where we're at, and just hopefully it summarizes it and we get Livewire into a good spot to where maybe we could get a Harbinger book afterwards and move forward and get past Harbinger Wars 2 and have Harbingers back to you. Have the Harbinger book title still rolling.
Yeah. So I'll give my score.
Yeah.
I think the writing's all right on this. The writing, to me, is not the issue on this. And if I was just going to grade it on the writing, I'd probably go about a 3.5. I don't think that the story is necessarily great, but I think it's all right. I mean, this would keep me – I would still be reading this and be happy about it if what I was looking at was a little bit better. I just can't score the art very high, and that's maybe the problem on this. So this will be like a very low score for me, but I'm going to give this about a 2.5. And I do feel like that might even be generous. Just that I just don't really like the art on this.
Yeah.
Colors seem a little bit weird with the art style too, because there's not as much detail as some of the artists are known for having. So the colors just don't seem quite as they don't seem to stand out as much as they normally would.
Yeah. And I'm gonna be similar, right? Like I said, the thing I think it could have the next release scenes could have been condensed, and we could have got the point that's being tried to be brought along here. And yeah, I'm 100% agreeing with you on the art, but I think I would be giving this like a 2 out of 5 right now. Story's not bad, but like you said, the art is really it's not what we came to expect from Valiant.
Yeah, I'm hoping when I pick up my books, because I haven't picked up books for a couple weeks. I only pick them up about once a month now from my local shop, which is the Nerd Store in West Valley, Utah. Great, those dudes are great.
Those guys are awesome.
But I haven't picked up books. I only pick up books once a month because I'm only getting Valiant books.
Right.
So I'm hoping that magazine variant's in there and the pre-order edition. All the covers are great on this.
Yeah, I dig it. The covers are looking great. That's not been an issue at all necessarily with this title. So I think this title probably, as far as cover-wise, has been probably one of the high points on this book and across the line.
Yeah. So also this week that came out, and we don't normally talk about trades very much, but Livewire Volume 2 came out. So if you're liking
Yeah, I didn't go to a shop and see it, but I know that Moose was at headquarters, and they had the book there printed, ready to rock right there. So, yeah.
the movie, it does basically start as an origin. You do see some cool little things. It goes into Harbinger Wars. It doesn't have the Harbinger Wars issues of the actual miniseries of Harbinger Wars, but it has the Bloodshot side of it. Cool stuff. Really recommend it. So go ahead and pick that up if you feel you need to. Just pick it up anyway, because here's one thing that's great about that, and I feel like we don't get enough of this as Valiant fans. Valiant's trades tend to be like 3-issue storylines or 4-issue storylines. And if you're not buying like the first volume from them at a convention, they're a little pricey. This new edition of Bloodshot is 14 issues for $24.99, so it's a hell of a deal.
Yeah, it is.
And I'm sure they priced it that way. They want that book in the hands of readers. They want to get people introduced to the character. If you're somebody who trade weights, they want you to pick that up, but you should do it. It's like 350 plus pages, and there's some extras in the back of it. So highly recommended. Great stuff.
And I mean, Josh was talking about I know we had some audio issues there, guys. Sorry about that. Josh was talking about the definitive Bloodshot version there that just came out this week that we were showing right here on this. And I had actually went to a used bookstore, and behind their box they had a sealed Bloodshot #1 Deluxe for $100. So, which is a pretty good deal to have a sealed one right now. Those are hard to find. So, and that's what the first three. That's the first 3 arcs there as well. So, I think that's the first 12 issues or so.
I can't remember, and I'm trying to think who I sold my deluxe of that to. I can't remember if it was you or somebody else.
This dude, right here. So yeah.
And you also got my first Archer and Armstrong one, didn't you?
Yeah, I'm glad you got rid of your hardcovers. So I just need somebody to get rid of their rye.
I used to have such great luck with finding those books for people.
Yep.
And I at one point I think I had 3 Archer and Armstrong #1s that just sat on my bookshelf behind me when I had my old room to podcast in. It felt pretty good, and it was just weird because people would be like, "Why do you have extra books? It's like, what are you doing with those? When are you going to sell me one of those Bloodshots? When are you going to sell me one of those books?" I could never find another Rye. It's still crazy to me with the demand,
Right?
Because it still seems like a book that people ask for. Why they've never chosen to reprint that, but they've reprinted Quantum and Woody, which I've never heard anyone ask for.
Right.
But
it's interesting. Yeah. On the new hardcovers, you could kind of see them. All of the new printed ones that you see on the top shelf behind me, right there, and then right there, they're not coloring the spines anymore. They're all they're plain white.
Really?
Yeah, so it just looks weird because you could kind of point out the ones that are the deluxes that have came out post Dinesh, and it's interesting. I mean, just a little thing I've observed. So.
Yeah, that's awful because they should always. One thing that people have OCD on is book spines. I belong to enough omnibus and deluxe edition groups on Facebook where people get so irritable about that kind of stuff, and they'll reprint their own dust jackets over it because they don't like it. There's a lot of people that will remake their Marvel omnibus dust jackets so that they all have a black background. Yeah. Because there are a few that have white, there are a few that have just different stuff with it. They don't like how it looks on a shelf. Yeah. And when I had all those, the Valiant Deluxe editions, they all looked really good together.
Yeah.
But
and now you're adding these like white ones, right? So most of them were a different tone of everything. And Sean Hayes validates that it was 1 through 13. So basically, this trade paperback-ish omnibus deluxe, whatever you want to call it, is the same pages as the volume 1. So it's a way of getting those books out with 0 included. And what do we got here on the chat? I like what Sean was talking about, how he wishes the politician angle was more of a background story through the arcs of Livewire. And that's kind of what I was saying. I felt like it could be condensed, and we could have gotten some more story along with it and still get the idea of what's going on, or just be thrown in there in the background of a overall arcing story.
Yeah. The sad thing is, even as a Valiant fan, you can't like everything. And I feel like a lot of times the people I talk with, they experience it more than I do. I'm still a person who's very much like the glass is half full. And I'm rarely disappointed with books, but this has been a case for like 2 months in a row with Livewire, especially a book that I've really been enjoying. I just haven't enjoyed this one. But, not every book was made for me. So I'll just try something else. Right. But I'll still be reading the other issues. I'll still be picking up the rest of this run.
And that kind of gets into Scott Bloom's question on the chat. How do you get a non-comic reader to start reading Valiant? And I think that's finding a story or a type of thing that matches up to them. If they like comedy, Archer and Armstrong, that first arc of Archer and Armstrong is great. They like sci-fi, Exo. They like Punisher, they like shoot 'em ups, they like 80s action, of course Bloodshot. It's really just going to be if they're X-Men fans or X-Men TV show, get them into Harbinger. Yeah.
I think it's hard to say with the non-comic fan, because I don't deal with that too much, where I've talked to too many non-comic fans and gotten them to pick up a Valiant book. I feel like if I was maybe, say, dealing with someone who read comics, it'd be a little bit easier, because then you can sit there and look at like things that they're reading. So if someone's reading like X-Men stuff, they like mutants, there's a similarity between the Psyops and what they're going through with Harbinger. And plus, Harbinger is one of those books that's going to be like the high watermark of Valiant Entertainment. There's also books like The Valiant. While we're talking about stuff like that, The Valiant is great. Right. It does feature a lot of characters. You get a cool little story. It's a done in one.
And it's a great jumping on point to the universe, too.
Oh, yeah, because especially since if you like that, it goes into so many other things. It goes into Bloodshot Reborn. It goes into Book of Death, which then goes into Wrath of the Eternal Warrior. There's all this cool stuff that a lot of those books lead to. So I don't know. Like I know, like with my wife who reads comics, I always thought, oh, you should read Harbinger because you love X-Men, but she just never got into it. She never really got into picking it up, and that's okay. It's not for everyone, but I do feel like there's a lot to like about Valiant. I do think that the stories do end up being a little bit more mature in scope. Not quite like, not to say they're like Vertigo, where like the languages, there's no stopping what's said, and it's just like gore and super crazy violence. But I do think that it's a sophisticated world, and I hope a lot of other people see that when they read the books.
Right.
But if someone doesn't want to read it, you just move on.
Right.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. And I think another one that gets a non-comic reader that I've had success with, and then I'm getting a non-comic reader to start reading, and that's why I busted out Secret Weapons. Just a good story, good kind of piece there that kind of get more of an adult story that's going on. That's another great place to start. Sean Hayes basically mentions that Kent's Rye is a hard place to follow, or hard for a non-comic fan. It's a good book, but I agree with that. It is a difficult to follow for a non-comic fan.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if you're way into like futuristic tales, cyberpunk stuff, things like that. But I do think that the setting is different from Valiant, so that would be a hard thing to sell someone on. Because even though we're all familiar with the 4001 storyline because it's been a part of Valiant's history, there's only that one book that really takes place within that storyline. There's not a lot to then say, hey, if you like what's going on with Rye, pick this up, because you could tell them to pick up, say, Eternal Warrior. He does happen to be in those books, but that version of Eternal Warriors is vastly different from what you would see in Rye. Yeah. But
maybe Bloodshot Rising Spirit.
Don't read it. Okay, don't. Please don't. I hate even being like that, because even like if someone was like, what do you think about Dead Drop? I wouldn't be like, oh, it's just the worst thing you've ever read. Don't read it. I wouldn't tell someone that. But I think with the fact that there's other Bloodshot books out there, it's the last thing you should read as far as Bloodshot. Go read like the 90s run. Go read Acclaim. Read some. Go find some fan fiction of Bloodshot. Then you can like read.
Right. Pick up the definitive edition.
But in defense of, one thing I will say in defense of Rising Spirit is I really don't mind Elliot Rahall's issues on it. They're probably the best ones. Right. I like the moment that Bloodshot faced off against Hardcore, but that book's just a train wreck. But one thing I would say, and I think this is just what fans do in general, is when you find a book that you really like and you want to get someone introduced to something. If you say you like Harbinger, right, and stuff like that, if it's a book that you really care about, that's how you sell someone on. You tell them how important that book is to you, how much it means to you, and if you think that they would like it, then you make that recommendation. And there's certainly some books that I think stack up really well against anything else that's out there. Yeah. Harbinger, I think Bloodshot's, especially that first year of Bloodshot under Dwayne Swierczynski, it's excellent. The Valiant, Wrath of the Eternal Warrior, Ninja K,
Shadow Man Volume 1 was great. So.
Oh yeah, Shadow Man Volume 1. Shadow Man. Well, yeah, our version of Shadow Man Volume 1, right, which I think is like Volume 4, and then the one that Andy Diggle wrote was great. Incursion was great. Ivar was great. Archer Armstrong.
Divinity.
Oh man, Divinity is great too, man. But if you read Divinity, you just got to read all of it. So right. But I mean, there's a lot of that stuff where it's like you could. I mean, Exo Manowar. I don't even know if we mentioned Vendity's Exo. Kent's. I don't know. I wouldn't.
Yeah, I mean, I really liked a lot of what Exo had on the board. So, yeah, I've given that to some people who like Thor. They enjoyed Thor from Marvel, and so that was kind of my barometer on getting somebody on Exo.
Yeah, so I just think if you have passion on something, like how we do doing this podcast, it's easy to sit there and say why something means so much to you and why you like it and why you think that someone might want to read it.
Right. Absolutely. But yeah, that's a good question. Thanks for putting that up there, Scott. That was good. Thank you for that. Let's.
I want to comment real quick. Our friend William Pace, from over at Outright Geekery, he's in the chat, and he's like, "I bet Eric has a stack of Bloodshot fan fiction."
Yeah.
I hope since Eric didn't get to be here for this one, we get to like just make the joke that I hope in all of his fan fiction, there's a little Eric running around with him, not a blood squirt, but an Eric. Bloodshot and Eric out there busting heads.
Yeah, little buddy.
This is what happens when you're sick.
Yep,
Sorry, buddy.
Yep,
get well soon.
Yep, get well, man. And then we got 2 books coming out next week.
Oh man, Killers and Psylords. And you know what? Like, after the last issue of Psylords, I'm actually pretty excited for this one. I feel like it's maybe going to a place where it's making a lot more sense. We're getting some answers about some things, some cool stuff's happening. But
if they bring
more excited.
if they bring another dead person back right away, I kind of will be frustrated because they already brought back. I mean, they explained it really well with him being a twin. But if they bring another dead person back,
if he's a triplet, then we're gonna have some trouble. The cover you show for that, I like a lot.
Yeah.
And then next week we get Killers #3. Killers has been so awesome. Maybe if you're trying to get someone interested in Valiant, you give them first issue of Killers.
Ninja.
Because Killers shows a lot of characters that we've never really seen a whole lot of. They're almost like brand new characters. Really, a lot of them are brand new. We finally got a blonde-haired ninja, which I've been waiting for about 3 years since I got a sketch. So very happy about that.
Definitely, man. So yeah, I'm actually pumped up. I mean, these are probably I know Killers is my favorite book that we got right now. I was saying Fallen World until now, and then we get Rye next month. So by rock and roll.
All right.
Well, thanks everybody for jumping on the chat. Scott Bloom's been with us, Sean Hayes, William Pace, all the way, man. So, and just hope that Eric gets well. And
yep, get well, get back next week. Oh. Also, if you're listening, what was that?
I almost forgot, man. If I'll be in Portland at Rose City Comic Con this weekend.
Oh yeah. So if you guys if you're fans of Hoodoo or fans of us, go bug Hoosier.
That's right.
Go say hi. He's a very recognizable guy. He's very nice.
I'm going to try to get there. Valiant's only there one day for a Friday panel. And so I'm going to try to get there. I have to work Friday morning and take the 3-hour drive from Seattle to Portland. And but
that's not bad.
Yeah, it's not a bad drive. It's just that their panel's at 5 and I get off at like 1 or 2. So traffic can be, on a Friday could suck. So I hope there's not traffic. I get there really easily. That way I get to the panel and be out and about.
Is there anyone going with you to the show? Like, is Chris Amundsen meeting up with you, like our friend Moose?
Moose is going to be at the, he's at New York City right now. So like I say, he went to Valiant headquarters, and he said he enjoyed it, and he said it was pretty cool. Headquarters is awesome. And he's going to be at the Seahawks game against the Steelers. So I don't care who wins. I hope they tie, or I don't like either team. So Moose isn't going to be there, but there'll be some other Valiant fans that I know that are there. And there's some great creators hoping to see that Portland's a hotbed for comics, and a lot of good creators live there. And I follow their Facebook page, and looking at their guest list, it's amazing. It's really good. It reminds me a lot of Emerald City. Yeah.
Just because I feel like the show here that we have, which is Fan X, is a massive disappointment for comic book creators. There's just not a lot of them there. It's the same people every year a lot of times.
Well, you get Ryan Otley.
People that just not every year.
Yeah. I think that's when he was at Ace this year. We talked about it.
I would say I see Ryan Otley more Emerald City than I do at Fan X. And I see Ryan at shops. He's a great guy. I try not to be too much of an annoyance, but I've known that dude since he first started on Invincible.
Yep.
He did a little signing at the downtown library in Salt Lake City. And so at one point I used to have probably like the first, like from issue 8 or 9, whenever he started, to like issue 100 signed by him.
Oh, nice.
Of Invincible. And he used to do commissions, like 11x17 commissions for like $20 to me.
Right.
Because he didn't know how much he charged.
Yeah.
And he's like, how about if I did? He's like, I can't give it to you for free. How about like $20? So now he's like a big deal, and I'm happy for him.
Yes.
So I don't get that kind of treatment anymore as a fan. But yeah, like it's cool. One year I'm hoping to make it out. I'm actually hoping to come back out for Emerald City next year, because I saw that press registration opened up again. I had kind of a miserable time last year, not with you guys. In fact, you guys kind of saved my weekend.
You had a lot of things going on, so.
Yeah, I had so much crap going on, and things are on the way up.
Nice.
Definitely for all of us here. So I'm hoping it might not happen, just because I know that sometimes Emerald City won't give you a press pass 2 years in a row.
Right.
And I don't know if they've already started selling passes. I mean, I'm not against buying one. It's not like I would just be like, I can't go because I can't get a press pass.
Yeah, they're hard tickets to get. They sell out really quick. Sometimes I know, like, I've had my press passes, and then sometimes you have to buy, all the days if you want to go individually versus getting a weekend pass. So there's limited. But I would have to say, like, Rose City is one of my favorite cons. It is probably a true comic con, like, all the way around. It's really focused on comics. Last year they had DC there, which was really cool, but Image didn't even show up, and Image's headquarters in Portland. But you saw a lot of the Image staff hanging out there, and it was like, yeah, we're just hanging out. It's kind of like our weekend off. But there's a big presence there. Dark Horse is based in Portland. Oni's based in Portland. So, I mean, it's a good show. They get a good creator. And I'd say a good half of the sales floor, or the What If show floor, is Artist Alley, which is awesome. So...
Yeah, I think now that you do get Valiant with us, one of these days when we both go to a show, we need to have some kind of presence at a show as Get Valiant.
Yeah.
Just because, I met you at Emerald City. Maybe the next time I go to Emerald City, since you'll probably be there, we'll figure out something that we can do for anyone who wants to come hang out with us at a table or something. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, or just an afterwards meetup at one of the hotels and just chill
with us, talk Valiant.
Yeah, hang out, have a little meetup, but rock and roll from there. I mean, I think it's fun, man. It's those are probably, a homer because they're the Northwest, but I've enjoyed them a lot, and hoping to catch up some more of the other ones. But yeah, I wanted to throw that out there. So if you're at Portland and you happen to run across, come say what's up. So.
All right. Hey, real quick about Rose City. Do you have any interviews lined up with anybody? Not necessarily like Valiant people, but I know you do a lot of interviews with people outside of Valiant's publishing, a lot of Image guys, things like that.
You know what? I haven't really. I basically just decided the other night that I'm going. I mean, I had my press pass approved with Rose City, and I just figured I might as well decide to go now. And I finally booked a room, and I'm gonna be there. So I don't know anybody. I mean, off the top of my head, I know there's a good number of Valiant creators that are there. So we'll see. So, but. Yeah, nobody off the top of my head of really what I'm thinking about, So there's my usuals that I see there all the time. So, and we'll kind of figure it out from there.
All right. Well, we hope you have fun there.
Yeah, appreciate it. Well, I guess that's it for Get Valiant number 132 minus Eric. So, and everybody jumped on, appreciate it. Make sure you guys are subscribing. Make sure you're liking so we could do a giveaway at 100, and then hopefully. I guess the wishful thinking is hopefully we could get exposed more by YouTube to get some more Valiant readers along board and do our part as fans.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And hey, you know what? We love interaction. So even if you can't join us for like live chat, pop over to our Facebook page at Get Valiant. We have Twitter. We have email, getvaliant at gmail.com. I almost said Hotmail. Holy shit. Yep. But, come let us know what you think.
Yep.
Whether it's good or bad, go rate us somewhere on your favorite podcast platform too. So, for Get Valiant 132, I believe, I am Josh Rathbun.
And I am Hoosier. Thank you, guys.